Hello everyone, we are currently here at Harvard and this is our campus. So in about a month, everything here will be much greener. From Harvard.
Hello, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here today. We would like to sincerely thank the Volunteer Project Support Center for Underserved Youth for inviting us today.
Oh, hi, I'm Bochuan, and I'm currently a graduate student at Harvard, where my work focuses on ecology, design, and environmental restoration.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yuki. I study architecture at Princeton and later real estate at Harvard. Like Bochuan, I care deeply about sustainability, and I'm especially interested in how design can respond to real environmental conditions.
Over the past few years, I have become increasingly interested in climate change as a global issue. At Harvard and also through courses across MIT, I have had the opportunity to explore environmental questions through design, technology, material research, and emerging fields such as AI. What I found especially meaningful is that climate change is not a problem that belongs to just one discipline. It cannot be addressed by architecture alone, or by science alone, or by policy alone. It requires different kinds of knowledge to come together. In my own work, I have been especially interested in how design and technology might respond to extreme environments like desert. For example, I have been thinking about how 3D printing might contribute to architecture in arid landscapes and how local materials can become part of a new system of making. I am also currently taking a biofabrication course at Harvard, where I am exploring how sand itself might be rethought as a medium for fabrication and environmental design. So for me, these questions are exciting because they show that design is not only about representation, it can also become a tool for testing ideas, building new systems, and imagining different relationships between materials, technology, and landscape. But at the same time, the more I studied this question in school, the more I realized that climate change is such a vast global issue that no single talk could ever fully explain it, and no single field could solve it alone. So today, I do not want to pretend that I can talk about every part of climate change. Instead, I want to focus on specific case, the desert, as a way of thinking about a much larger environmental challenge. And I want to begin not with a theory, but with a feeling. So for many people, desertification sounds distant, right? So it sounds abstract, but when you actually experience a sandstorm, it stops feeling abstract. You feel the air change, you feel the dust on your skin, in your eyes, in your breathing. In that moment, you understand that this is not just an environmental term, it is something immediate, physical, and real. That is one reason the issue matters so much to me. Desertification and land degradation are not isolated problems happening somewhere far away. They are part of a much larger global condition with consequences for climate, biodiversity, and human livelihoods. So over the past few years, I've also become deeply connected to a real desert restoration project in the Cannon Basin in Qinghai, China. What this project taught me very quickly is that restoration is not simply about planting trees. It is not one action, and it is not a short-term task. It is a long process that involves wind, water, soil, biodiversity, maintenance, and time. But beyond all of that, it also raises another important question. If ecological restoration is real work happening in a harsh environment, then how do we support the people doing that work? How do we think not only about restoration, but also about protection, energy, and shelter? That is where our thinking began to expand. We started not only with the question of how to restore a landscape, but also how architecture might support ecological work in extreme environments. So, and this is where our project began to connect ecology with architecture in a more direct way. So, now I would like to hand it over to Yuki, who will share more about how we turned that question into a real design response.
Thank you, Bochuan. Now I want to introduce our award-winning project from the U.S. Department of Energy Solar Decathlon, where we received the program's highest nomination award. When we began thinking about the condition of ecological restoration, we realized that a shelter in the desert could not just be a temporary object. It had to respond to climate, mobility, energy, and the realities of working on site. That is why we look at the yurt as a starting point. In our research, we studied traditional yurt system as a model of climate adaptation. And we also examined their structures, material logic, and solar potential. But we did not want to simply copy a traditional form. We wanted to rethink it for a new environmental context. So our project becomes a modular off-grid shelter designed to support ongoing ecological restoration activities. In our proposal, the shelter is meant to support workers involved in desert planting and to function as a mobile and adaptable unit across the restoration landscape. There are three main innovations I want to highlight. First, it is off-grid. The shelter introduces a regenerative energy system so it can work in remote environments and where infrastructure is limited. Our design integrates solar technologies and a central thermal core to improve energy performance. Second, it uses a modular sand wall system. Instead of relying only on imported materials, we explored how local sand could become part of the wall assembly. This gave us thermal mass, insulation, and a stronger relationship to the site itself. Third, it is not only a concept. We actually built it and tested it. This summer, our team constructed a full-scale mock-up in the Kaidong Basin. The prefabricated structure was designed for rapid on-site assembly. The full assembly took only 2 days. And we also compared its thermal performance with a traditional Mongolian yurt. The sand wall can stay up to 8 degrees Celsius cooler during the day and 1 to 3 degrees warmer at night. So it creates more stable indoors conditions. For us, this project was important because it showed that architecture can do more than providing a form. It can support ecological work, protect people in extreme environments, and become part of a larger system of adaptation.
Thank you, Yuki. I think what this project really showed us is that environmental action does not belong to only one field. It is not only about ecology. It is not only about architecture. It is not only about technology. It is about how different ways of thinking can come together around a real problem. So for me, this project began with a concern for desertification and ecological restoration. For Yuki, it also became a question of space, shelter, and how architecture can respond to real environmental conditions. And when these perspectives come together, we were able not only to imagine something, but to build something that could respond to a real challenge on the ground. And that is really the main message we want to leave with everyone today. Climate change and environmental degradation are not problems that can be solved by one person, one profession, or one field alone. They require all of us. But the good news is that not everyone has to contribute in the same way. Each of us can begin from our own background, our own skills, and our own perspective. If you are interested in science, you can contribute through research. If you care about design, you can contribute through innovation. If you love storytelling, film, or communication, you can help more people understand these issues. If you are interested in business, policy, or community work, you can help create systems that make long-term change possible. So we hope that after hearing this talk today, you will not see environmental action as something distant or impossible. We hope you will see that it is something you can be part of, starting from where you are and starting with what you already have. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you all so much for listening, and thank you again to the Volunteer Project Support Center for inviting us and making this conversation possible. Thank you.